you got home and.
I should've just brought a paper to everybody. Not that
See,
little one.
if you put manure, chicken manure on the field, do you get most of your stuff back in 3 years, you think? Phosphorus and potash.
Well, phosphorus and potash is gonna
Yeah.
depend on your usage. Spot, that don't go anywhere.
But I heard in one study that only 20% of your phosphorus is available the first year.
Yeah.
Could be.
And what, 60% of your ag?
Yeah, so you can, P and K, it's not a big percentage available the first year. Putting chicken manure on rented land, I always got like a 3-year agreement, then you get your money back. You probably get most of it back.
Probably depends on where levels you're at too, you know.
Yeah.
That's out there
If
working.
it's low, you'll get more back.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll grab more.
Great blanket.
What's with me?
I see a lot of-
I keep climbing and climbing and climbing.
Scott's got a lot of signs though too. Oh, I know,
China's
yeah,
buying
he
a
seems to
lot.
have more, but I
Right,
mean. doesn't
China's
matter
buying a
what
lot?
it's
Yeah,
sign,
I know.
you know, I think
What's that,
something-
what's to
I mean,
drain the rest of the
based on
world,
Primary.
basically.
They're trying to
I worked the whole frickin'
rebuild their herd.
summer when I was there.
Oh, they're hogs, huh?
I still lost sometimes.
Judy.
But hogs ain't high growth. They haven't been up that much.
Limit to
Wife, you know,
Oh, they did?
She had some
When they,
foliage and stuff,
Germany
she went
announced
around
they
to the new development, you gotta get foliage, if you don't pull foliage, you're not
Well,
gonna.
That's the way, that's point Walter said that, if you don't get the one, you're not gonna.
Yeah,
yeah, went up, limit 2 days in a row.
and now,
Hopefully steers follow.
half the people, I got it.
I see that one.
Well, hey, well,
They what?
The older
That
ones,
goes up to
they ain't.
$140 now.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I
You know, that's
The ones that was
the place
older
where I always
than me.
thought you
Yeah.
could start making money.
They're not here.
No, I know, I had a lot of them like that too, but. The new area I got was across Highway 10, that's what I gave them. I definitely was there. 2 times now, so they wouldn't.
Live stream is living and streaming.
I mean, the ones that paid any attention, was just like 1 out of 50.
I guess I don't need to watch it since I can see it live in person.
And I didn't get any pictures yet from Steve, so he must not have shot her down. He said he'd send me a picture.
Okay. I don't know who caller 2 is.
So we have Miss Johanna.
9 o'clock. Benton County Board of Commissioners to order. We'll open with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Vicky, can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Pop,
Here.
Commissioner Bowerly,
Here.
Commissioner Berkeley,
Here.
Commissioner Peschel,
Here.
Commissioner Heinen,
Excused.
Okay, next item is the agenda approve or amend. I think, see, we have a couple of
Yes,
additions.
Mr. Chair. So if we could add the appointment of Cindy to the Park Commission as consent item number 9.
Let's see.
And by the way, both Cindy and Commissioner Heinen are fine with that reappointment. They both. And also too, if we could actually remove items number 6 and 7 from a consent item and just place them as regular items right after the consent agenda. I think that, there were some questions that you wanted to pose, and I see Heather is here to address those. So again, if you could remove items 6 and 7 and put those right after the consent agenda as regular items. And that's it.
Okay, so we have 2 on the 2 pulled and one added, yeah?
Yep, yes, sir.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair, with the additions.
And, okay.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Do we have anything under the open forum back there? I don't believe so. I don't see anyone here, so, all right. Consent agenda. Approve or amend regular meeting minutes of September 1st, 2020. Accept and file committee of the whole minutes of September 2nd, 2020. Number 3, approve minor final plat entitled Thompson Village in Watap Township, submitted by Ray Thompson. Item 4, approve 5-year contract with Schneider Geospatial for a web-based permitting program. Item 5, adopt resolution approving the application for premises permit as requested by Central Minnesota Youth Soccer Association to conduct charitable gambling at Wapakata Golf Club, 4498 15th Street Northeast, Sauk Rapids. 6 and 7 were pulled. And item 8 is approve application for Minnesota lawful gambling permit for Sauk Rapids Tinville Lion to hold raffle at Raleigh's, 940 35th Street Northeast, Sauk Rapids, on October 11th. And then the one that was added was a action item to approve Cindy Voigt to a 3-year term to the Park Commission beginning July 2020. Okay, any questions or anything on the consent agenda?
I move we approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, next up, we gotta, hang on here. I gotta, next we have a, next item is a public hearing to consider the minor final.
Mr.
Gotta do
Chair,
6 and 7.
I was hoping, yeah, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Heather was hoping we
Yeah,
could do those
Heather's here,
first,
that's
right.
right, okay.
6
Yep.
and 7, right. First
Come
would
on,
be the
Heather,
absentee
yep.
ballot board.
Good. Now we'll, yeah, Heather, the reason I wanted to have some of these pulled, I'm getting a lot of questions, and it's consuming a lot of time at every AMC meeting, at every MICA meeting, it's elections, I've never heard it like this in all the years I've been around, so it just leads to more and more questions from the public and from ourselves, so.
And I can imagine that we've already received almost 4,000 requests for absentee ballots.
Okay,
And a lot of calls in our office as well. So I understand you had some questions, and Monty had actually been nice enough to provide those to us
Good.
yesterday. So I have actually typed up the answers
oh, good,
from the statute. I'll hand these
organized.
out to you guys if that's okay.
sure,
Do
yeah.
you want me to
then we
put on
can-
my mask before I bring them over?
Sure, I don't care, well, yeah, you better put it on,
Follow protocol.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
So I'll also say to this point too, I'm gonna go over what the answers
Sure.
are, but there have been a lot of court cases and different changes to the Minnesota laws this year that haven't happened in previous elections either, mostly due to coronavirus. So the first question was, how was it decided who would serve on the absentee ballot board? The auditor treasurer staff have served as the absentee ballot board for previous elections. And Nadine's appointed us because she has complete confidence in our ability to maintain the integrity of the election process. Using internal staff, we've all been through a background check. We're all trained as election judges. We do a 2-hour election judge training. Actually, those of us that are election administrators have 15 hours of election judge training. That's given to us by the state every 2-year election cycle. We meet for the absentee ballot board pretty much every day. We also felt with coronavirus going on that it might be not in our best interest to bring in a lot of outside individuals to meet with our staff, as well as exposing them to us during an election cycle. Subdivision, Minnesota statute subdivision 203B.23 states that the county auditor must establish an absentee ballot board, and the board may consist of staff trained as election judges. So we looked at this. What are your concerns with regard to that?
I think the question I had was, is there any pushback from the fact that it's just all staff doing it and then no one from the public allowed to also sit on that?
We haven't received pushback in the past. Have
Okay,
you heard
I'm just-
anything?
Okay, good. Yeah.
Have you heard anything?
No,
on
I
your
haven't,
end?
I haven't, but I'm just trying to think ahead on this whole thing because it's been politicized so much that, all these things, especially around the absentee things,
Do you feel that, we had to kind of weigh that with
Yeah.
the whole coronavirus situation? What's your personal feeling? What do you think?
My personal feeling is, I don't know that people are gonna look that deep in it, but if they did, I think they would question whether just internal staff or if the public should, election judge from the outside, a private sector person should be involved.
And we are required to keep a paper trail when we do
Right,
the
yep.
absentee ballot board. When we go through the ballots that come in, we compare the ballots that come into the original application that was issued by the voter. We are required, down the third question down, we're required to go through and look at the acceptance criteria that I've listed out under that third question down, to make sure that the ballot is either accepted or rejected. We are held to those standards. The state does audit us every 2-year election cycle to make sure that we're following those procedures. We have to note on the envelopes why a ballot was rejected if it is rejected, and we are required to notify the voter either by letter if it is not within that last week before the election, or the last week of the election we're required to call the voter and let them know why their ballot was rejected.
Is it a 4-day thing? I heard that yesterday in a presentation. The last.
By statute, but with the mail and everything right now, I would call them anytime in that last week and let them know why their ballot was rejected.
If you received one with 3 days left, you wouldn't call
We would still call them. We have to call them because if their ballot's not accepted, they have to be able to go to the polling place and still cast a ballot.
them. Oh, okay, because I know they had a 4-day that,
By statute in the past, it said 4 days that we would have to call and notify the voters. But right now, with everything going on, within that last 4 days.
okay, but you're allowed to do that. That's.
We're allowed to do
Okay,
that, yep.
good, Okay, good, 'cause I can just see people not getting pretty upset. if
No,
they-
we call and let them know, and they still get upset, but we're giving them the right to vote because we let them know that your ballot has been rejected. You need to go to the polling place and vote, or you need to come here and cast another absentee ballot.
Okay,
One of the reasons in the past that we've seen a lot of ballots getting rejected is for improper witnessing. And there was actually a court dissent decree. There's a case where the NAACP took Secretary of State Simon to court to request that the witness requirement be removed from absentee ballots, and it has been removed pursuant to the court litigation for 2020 for anyone except for non-registered voters. So if you're registered, you do not have to have a witness on your ballot. You still have to provide your signature on the oath, and you still have to provide your ID number so we can compare it to the application. So we're expecting a lot less ballots to be rejected, just for that fact. That was done because of coronavirus,
okay.
so that people didn't have to go and try to get other people to witness their ballots and have face-to-face contact. Did you want me to read through?
Sure, go ahead,
Okay.
please, 'cause-
So the second question says, do we train members of the absentee ballot board? Yes, we do. They must take 2 hours of required election judge training, and they also have to take a test when they're done so that we can prove that they understand the material, and we keep copies of those tests on file in our office. What are members of the absentee ballot board trained to look for, and what would cause a ballot to be rejected? Acceptance criteria. 1, the voter's name and address on the envelope matches the application. 2, the voter has signed the back of the envelope. 3, the voter has provided the same identification number on the envelope as on the absentee application or on their voter record. If neither matching option results in a match, the board must compare the signature on the envelope to the signature provided on the application form to determine whether the ballot was returned by the same person to whom it was transmitted. Use of, lack of, full names, nicknames, abbreviations, or initials on the application or envelope is not a reason for rejection. It is not possible to successfully compare a pen and ink signature to a digital type signature. The voter is registered and eligible to vote in the precinct or has included a properly completed voter registration application with proof of residence marked on the signature envelope. A witness has signed the statement on the signature envelope and has provided a Minnesota residential address or title indicating that they are eligible to administer oaths or has affixed a notary stamp. For 2020, this requirement has been waived for registered voters. Non-registered voters must still have a witness. The voter has not already voted in the election in person, or if it is after the 7th day before the election, by absentee. The next question was, when will absentee ballots be opened? Normally after the close of business on the 7th day prior to the election, pursuant to Minnesota Statute 201.091. However, for 2020, Minnesota Laws Chapter 77, HF number 3429, has extended it to 14 days prior to the election day, and that's due to the number of absentee ballots that we're seeing being so high, to allow the staff additional time to process those ballots.
That was the question I had, the processing. So yeah, you're processing the ballot, but you're not actually counting it, running it through the machine or anything, right?
Okay, so here's the thing. The 14 days prior to the election, we're allowed to separate the secrecy envelope, which is the orange envelope that hides who they voted for, from the names, and we're allowed to run them through the machine, but we're not allowed by law to hit the button to tabulate those results until after 8 p.m. on election day.
Okay,
So we are not totaling how many votes each candidate had. We are running them through the machine, that is true.
okay.
But we do not hit any buttons to total. We would be
Oh.
violating state law to do that until after 8 p.m. on election day.
All right, good. All right, good. That answered one question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when will they be tabulated? Like I said, it's after 8 p.m. on election day. And the results will be released to the public combined with the election day vote totals, so they're never released separately from the election day totals. Now, pursuant to that Minnesota law change under Chapter 77 HF 3429, we are required to accept absentee ballots that are postmarked on or before election day and received within 7 days.
Yep, I knew, I'd heard that down there too.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was,
So in close elections, we won't know for 7 days until afterwards.
well, at least that, yeah.
It kind of depends on how many absentee votes are outstanding, but right, the official results will not be known for a longer period of time this year. Does that answer all of your
Yeah,
questions?
is there any news on the mail-in ballot machine that we're gonna purchase? Are we gonna get it in time?
We are gonna get it in time. They told us September 28th is the expected date right now.
So that'll help, right?
Oh, that is going to make a huge difference. That machine is slick.
Okay.
We're very appreciative that you guys were willing to let us.
Now, we don't have, do we have any drop boxes for, for absentee ballots?
We do. We have the auditor treasurer drop box that's outside of the front doors that it's normally used for tax payments. We are in the process of checking in to have a camera focused on that location for security purposes. So if individuals wanted to drop their ballots off after hours, it would be safeguarded that way.
Okay, because that was one of the three questions that came up yesterday. Item number one, security on drop boxes, okay?
Yep,
you
yep,
answered-
we're gonna have a
and they
camera.
They mentioned cameras.
And we haven't had any issues. We're the only office that has a key to that drop box. We haven't had any issues with taxpayers putting money in there, anything, any security issues with that.
Yeah, they said that, but that could be a possible, yeah, they brought that scenario up too yesterday at a meeting I was at.
Ours is physically cemented to the wall, so I think someone would have a hard time
Okay.
tampering with that.
And then, of course, the second question they had was chain of custody on the ballots.
What is the chain of custody?
Yeah, so you pick them up, you bring them in, and there's witnesses, or what's that?
Okay, so the ballots come into our office, and the first thing that we do is we scan them into the statewide voter registration system, which puts a tracking number on the ballot. It also allows the voter to be able to see that our office has received their ballot. there's a website that they can go to and type in their ID number and their name and see whether or not we've received it.
Okay,
As soon as we receive those ballots in, we have a case that we put them into and they get locked in our vault.
okay, good, yeah. And the third item they had, of course, was perception. You know, and I think that's the big one with the public this year, that is perceived. But I think you answered a lot of my questions anyway. That's good. Thank you. Anyone else got
welcome.
any questions for her? I know I maybe took a little too long, but this is a little bit different times, so.
Well, and any other questions that you have, feel free to let us know too.
Okay,
Happy to
very
help
good.
you out.
Anyone? Okay, well, thank you, Heather. You've
Thank
been a
you.
great help to us, yeah. Okay. Well, oh, we got the, joint powers agreement, right? Yeah.
And so the joint powers agreement is basically the agreement that would be in place if there was a recount.
Mm-hmm.
So Phil reviewed the contract, and this is just requesting approval of the joint powers agreement for any state or federal recounts that would occur.
Okay, yeah, I think I'm fine with that, so. Okay, any other questions from anyone on any of this? If not, we would need a motion to approve these consent agenda, since we did pull them,
I move we approve consent items 6 and 7.
okay?
Second, Mr.
And we have motion and second to approve items 6 and 7 on the consent agenda. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have, I gotta get caught up here. That's a, hang on here. I'll find it. I had a lot of. Roxanne, I just gotta find the protocol here for the,
You're fine.
yeah, for the public hearing. I got it somewhere. I had it here before. And, oh no, I just stuck it oh, here it is. There it is. We got it. I got it. Okay. All right. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing to consider the minor final plat entitled Lucky's Place in St. George Township, submitted by Gordon and Janet Hansmeyer. Before opening the public hearing, we'll first hear a county staff report, and could you help us out on that, Roxanne?
Absolutely. So we have a 3-lot plat in St. George Township. Each of the lots is over 10 acres. They will each have access to 95th Avenue Northeast, which is a township road. Each parcel will be required to have a local alternative septic, and that's due to the water table in this area. You can see on the plat here, the green areas outlined are our wetland areas, so there is water surfacing pretty low on these lots, and so a local alternative septic would be required for each one of these. Local alternative septics do require quite a bit more maintenance to them. They do need to be monitored a little closer. So we require a deed restriction be placed on lots that have or are subject to a local alternative, just due to the fact that we believe it's proper for each of the buyers to know what type of septic and the maintenance that will be required with those type of lots. Nonetheless, they did at least find locations for these septics and for homes to be located. St. George Township has provided approval of this plat.
Okay. Okay, is the applicant or their representative If you're in attendance and would like to speak, please give your name and address and tell us why you're seeking it.
I don't see anybody
Don't see
here
anyone?
unless they called in.
We
do
have
Okay.
a couple of folks on by phone.
Oh, okay. Now, let's see here.
Are any of the callers here for this agenda item? Apparently not.
Okay. Okay. Final call for anyone wishing to address the county board. Hearing or seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Are there any emails, letters, or other communications to be read into the record?
No.
Has the department received any comments or concerns from any state agencies, cities, or townships on this agenda item?
The township has signed the township acknowledgement form for plats.
Okay. Is any official action required by an affected township, and what was that? You just answered that, I think. Yep, okay. The county board will now have time for questions of staff and discussion. As a reminder to the audience, the public hearing portion is closed. Any questions or comments from board members before we take action?
Well, we went through it with the planning commission, it was pretty straightforward, and a lot of this land is marginal, very marginable farmland, so, the planning commission was in favor of it.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Okay,
The only thing, Mr. Chair, we didn't understand why they had a piece of property that goes all the way on the north edge, all the way back to a different parcel. There's a 16 and a half foot cartway or whatever it goes back there, and we have no idea when that was established. But it wasn't a big deal.
all right. Okay, any other discussion?
I move we approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the final
Second,
plat of
Mr.
Bluffing's
Chair.
Place, and we have a second, and authorize the chair to sign. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried, and I can sign it. Very good.
Thank you.
And next up, we have a score program request from the city of Foley for additional funding for the city of Foley composting site.
Yes, and this did not, well, this specific request did not go to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee,
Yeah, I know.
but previous discussions on this have been approved by SWAC. The request for this is, I think it's due to timing, and I'll let Mark come up and explain what's going on, because otherwise, this wouldn't be reviewed. I think there was, in August, there was the last,
Right. yeah.
and if it's quarterly, it would be some time before it was reviewed again.
Okay, all right.
So I'll let Mark come up and.
Okay, Mark. Morning.
Good morning, guys. Mark Pappenfuse, City of Foley Public Works Director. See, what happened this year, when we submitted our quarter 1 score grant for the compost pile, we got submitted backwards. It's a 75-25. They put it at 25-75 accidentally. So we worked with DOD. We gave that grant back. Did it in quarter 2 the correct way of 7,500, 2,500. In that time, our contractor, who's out of the Duluth Hermantown area, moved out of the area. So our pile grew all summer, and it's so big now. We'd like to grind the whole pile this year and clean it up before fall. So we're asking to up the grant $5,000 more dollars. So it'd be 3,750 county and another 1,250 city funds. So we could clean it all up this fall out there.
Okay, I know, it's a little outside the norm while we do it, but, I can see the circumstance here, so, and we do have money in the score dollars from, so, any questions, or what are the wishes of the board?
I'll move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the additional funding request from the city of Foley for.
Second, Mr. Chair.
And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. And this
Thank you.
doesn't happen very often, does it, Roxanne? That, yeah, because I've never seen this happen before. It's best if we do follow protocol, because then, you know,
All right, thank you.
if we can, yep. But we got plenty of money in there, so that's not the issue, yeah.
Do you mind if I give a quick update on Amnesty Days?
Sure.
Or Amnesty Day? It was well attended. We had about 500 cars come through. I would say a third of those were duplicates. The backup, the lineup, the wait time is nothing compared to Sauk Rapids. And so we had a few people drop off, go home, pick up again, and come back and drop off again. It went very smooth. We had a lot of compliments on the service that's provided. A lot of tires, but overall a good event for the day.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up, we got Chris. Tax forfeited Rook Road, huh? What are we gonna do?
All right, let's see if I can bring something up here.
I couldn't quite follow this. I couldn't quite follow this whole thing, Chris, just to let you know.
All right, because this is kind of complicated. So, Rook Road, we're talking about this little stretch of road here, or this property. Let's talk about this property. Here's Highway 23. The Quick Stop's over here. Knife River, their headquarters is over here. Donovan Lake, Water's Edge, whatever that development's called now, is here to the south. It looks like there's a couple residents that live here on just south of this parcel. And this parcel went tax forfeited back in 2014. The concern is this is the condition of the roadway. And so there's a lot of confusion about who owns it. Is it a private road? Some think that it's a public road. So we came into my office, and this is kind of what I've learned. This is kind of the history or background of it. So back in late 90s, MnDOT widened Highway 23. Their map even called it Buck Road. Buck Road, or this entrance, was a lot longer and went out to this point when Highway 23 was only 2 lanes. So MnDOT bought all this land here, bound by this line that has this dash and circle. They built this frontage road, which I understand it's a township road now. And then there was some confusion, thought that MnDOT had bought this section of roadway as well. This is their official right-of-way plat. And so I had our surveyor, Jay Whitstock, look into this, look at the legal descriptions of the deeds and everything, and look at that, compare that to the MnDOT right-of-way plat. And what he concluded was this little strip in blue here, MnDOT never owned. They did purchase this, and they held on to this land here. This is now a wetland. Looking at their construction documents, they used this to mitigate other wetlands that they impacted as part of the project. So they did some in-place mitigation. Oh, here, I have another piece of paper.
But MnDOT's right-of-way marker is at the end of that road.
Well, that's what I originally thought too. So their right-of-way would be to this point here. If this was overlaid on an aerial, I apologize, I didn't have time to do that. This frontage road comes up and across here. And so on the east side of this road is MnDOT property. Let's see if I don't have a picture of that. I wonder if I could bring up Beacon.
But the right-of-way marker is on the west side of the road.
It is, but then if you bring up Beacon, and I'll try to zoom in on that area in the map, looks are deceiving until you get up into the air. At this point, the road crosses into this MnDOT property. So I thought that this right-of-way marker was misplaced as well. But if this right-of-way marker is at the corner of this property, that would be correct. And this entrance to these private homes actually crosses into that MnDOT property. So this parcel is what we're talking about here. From the recorder's office, there was a quitclaim deed recorded in 1998 from Roger Schmidt to Johnson. From Schmidt Johnson to Welsh and Donovan Lake. And then in 2004, it went from Donovan Lake to Edina Development. 2004, a month later, it went from Edina Development to Water's Edge Development. And then, actually it was in July of 13, this went tax forfeited. I did some more digging historically. So I found a Google map or Google Earth image from 93 that shows this road in question. This, what I understand, was what was referred to as the Jacobs Farm. So this road, back when 23 was still only 2 lanes, served only this Jacobs Farm, lending it to believe that it was a private entrance even back then in 93. And then, well, even this map has modern day roads put out. As this Donovan Lake development was happening, it appears that some of this was purchased by a development corporation, including this strip where this entrance landed, and it was always in private ownership. So the question becomes, 2013, 2014, it becomes tax forfeited. Nobody's maintained the road in over 20 years. It wasn't paved as part of the MnDOT project that was originally believed to be paved as part of that MnDOT project. MnDOT's documentation, construction documentation, shows that they only paved in areas of their plat. So they paved what was originally Rook Road, but is now this frontage road. And so I think that's the big question. This remaining road, private entrance, whatever, driving surface is on a private parcel that went tax forfeited. It does serve 2 residences, and it has there's a business here, a sign business that has an access off of this as well. Nobody maintains it. Who should be maintaining it? What can we do as a county? All those questions remain. I believe Michelle Meyer is on the line. I asked her to look into this because I didn't understand myself. What happens to a tax forfeited parcel? I know sometimes in the past, but it's been several years, a building lot, house lot would go tax forfeited. An auditor's office would ask us to go mow grass because it's becoming overgrown and stuff. So there must be something that allows counties to do some kind of maintenance on it. But this is the first time where there's a driving surface or a road or an entrance or anything, and it's a tax forfeited. So what I have here is what Michelle shared with me, statute number 282.04. It's in the tax forfeited section. It does have some language in here that talks about before the sale of forfeited land, counties can grade the land and remove any surplus material from it. It goes on to say that the expense paid from the forfeited tax sale fund. So I think those are all questions that are before us now. Do we as a county, and I still don't understand the relationship with counties and the state on tax forfeited land. Why do we hold it, and why do we become responsible for selling it? I think that's a question too. Do we do something with that road and try to sell it later and recoup some of the whatever costs that we put in to maintain it, and sell it at a tax forfeited auction sometime later? Yeah.
So, Chris, that never was a county road, right?
No, never was a
Then I
county
think
road.
that whoever's township that's in, they should take care of it.
I do believe there's some Minden Township representatives here. So yeah, I standing before you as your county highway engineer, I would suggest not making that a county road for sure.
Yeah. You talked about selling it. I see no value in it other than maybe those 2 residents it serves.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the issue. They don't want the
business.
expense to
Oh,
fix
and a
up the
business?
road.
And a business.
Oh, there is a business back
Oh yeah,
there.
I can go back to
Lamar
that.
Signs is there, so
Yeah. Oh,
it
no.
serves Lamar and those 2 houses, so.
Oh, okay. So that makes it a little different if it's serving a business.
I'm gonna turn on another layer here. This, I just turned on the municipality layer. This is City of St. Cloud up to this point. I don't know why, I just wanted to mention that we're in close proximity to the city of St. Cloud, to see if there's any interest in, city discussion as well, so.
Mr. Chair, I think the county should overlay it and then turn it back to the county. That's the turn back process, that's typically what you do, whether state turns over to the county or county is the person doing the turning over improves it, and then the township takes it over. There's a business and 2 residents there. A private, it's not gonna work. So it's, by default, I think it's township, after we improve it.
How long a strip is that, Chris?
I measured it out, and I didn't bring those notes. Here, I'll measure it here real quick. 250 feet?
Well, Michelle's on.
Michelle's on.
Private land is not subject to the turnback provisions of a public road.
That's my question.
But tax forfeiture goes back to the county, right? So we gotta go through that process first then, tax forfeiture first, then,
So, Michelle, maybe you could explain what happens to a property when it goes tax forfeited?
Yes, I can certainly do that. So what happens is that land is initially sold to the state at a tax judgment sale, and then it is subject to the redemption rights of the private property owner. Once that time period expires, the title vests solely with the state, and the property is held in trust for the taxing entities. So it's then put on the county to manage and administer these tax forfeited properties that are technically held by the state. And that's where our obligations come into play about classifying property. Do we want to classify it as non-conservation or conservation? And when they talk about those 2 provisions, they're talking about maintaining it in a public resource and or selling it back into private ownership. So, that's also a duty. And then another duty is maintaining and managing it prior to sale or making determinations about keeping this as a public property. So those would be questions that you would need to answer before we could necessarily turn it back to a township and see if they're interested in it. So we could try to sell it privately if you want to do that, or you could reclassify the property as something that should remain in public ownership, and then determine from there how we want to handle it. It is different and weird, but we do have some authority to manage and spend some of those tax forfeiture funds. And we do have the ability to do some maintenance on roads without assuming the responsibility of continuing maintenance on those roads. Does that make sense at all?
No.
Mr. Chair, the private route won't work because if Lamar buys the land in an auction, the other two houses are landlocked, they have no access. So it has to stay as a public road.
Potentially. So even though it's private property, there is potentially some rights that they retain as an easement through that property. It's a little bit more complex than our typical tax forfeiture.
Mr. Chair, well, from the looks of the picture, it looks like the business has got another available access too.
I
That-
don't think so.
What? Right there, not?
Well, it isn't a developed.
It's not a developed
No,
access?
no,
Okay.
no.
That's the other access off of 45th Avenue with a gate, so I would argue that they do have another access.
So they can use that access, so that makes the question of why would they be interested in purchasing that property then?
This maybe is their main access. This is probably the
Right.
public access, their employees park. But yeah, on the other side, I could see this is maybe where their trucks enter, because it's gated, and that's probably where they keep their inventory and things like that.
They're the ones that called me to get it improved.
Yeah.
What would they like? Can I ask?
They want it paved. They want somebody to take responsibility for it and pave it. Do we pay taxes? Why is our road falling apart and nobody's taking care of it?
Yeah.
You could argue that nobody's been paying taxes on that property.
Well,
Well, they're paying property taxes, aren't they?
Yeah,
Well,
they're not-
next to it, but this piece here, that's, yeah, nobody's been paying
That's,
property
that's,
taxes.
if it's a tax forfeit, then somebody's not paying them, yeah.
But tax forfeiture goes back to the county in this instance, right?
So I would, is there,
Well, the state will give it to the county.
The state could, if you wanna keep it.
Wow.
And the county will give it to the township.
well, yeah.
This is why we can't get any progress. We have these circular discussions all the time. We've been
Right.
talking about this for 2 months and we can't get any progress.
Well, I'd like to talk too, Louis.
Chris, he wanted to, they wanted to say a word.
Oh, you were gonna allow,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, go, 'cause this is so confusing, I think
Yeah.
we'll go along with this, okay?
You know, Steve Simmons, been a township supervisor, 7415 30th Street Northeast. I think before you consider this a road, you have to have a recording. If a road is not recorded, it's not a road to begin with. That's the first step. So is there any point in time where you found a recording of this road? This is a named road, but it's not a recorded road. So at that point, it's a mute conversation that it's a road. It's a driveway. It was a private driveway to the last people, the Jacobs. Their mailbox is on the north side of the Highway 25, or of County Road, Highway 23. And nobody's maintained that ever, from a township standpoint. I talked with Mike Ebden, he said if there was another home up there by the Jacobs, and if there were 2 homes on that road, then the Postal Service would have put a mailbox right by their home entrances. And this was never considered a road by the Postal Service, never considered a road by Minden Township, never considered a road by the county. So how can you come back just because a person claims that he needs to have an improvement in his driveway? That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a road. That's still a private driveway. If it's not recorded, it is not a road. And that's plain and simple. Should be the end of the story.
Yep, excuse me,
Yeah.
but the property is forfeited back to the county, so it is,
That
it's not
doesn't
private
mean-
property.
but it is still not recorded as a road.
Right, but I mean, it's not private property neither, because it's been forfeited.
I know, but
Tax
in
forfeited.
the 25 years prior to this, nobody's maintained it.
Right.
And that's a statute where if a township hasn't maintained a road for 25 years,
Right.
it takes the electorate of the township to say, yes, you can spend money on that road again. And also the 20-year, the only way it becomes a township road if we maintain it for 6 years consecutively. We can't call it a minimum maintenance road because we never maintained it. And so realistically, it's never been a township road. It never was a county road. It was always a private driveway. And so I don't see, even though it's tax forfeiture, I don't see how you can consider that the necessity to make it a road. It can still just be a driveway for that individual, and they have to maintain it as a driveway. So why do you want to get all bent up to making it a road? Because it's not a road. It's private. Even if it's been tax forfeiture back to the county, you don't have to say it's a road because there never was a road.
If it looks like a road and walks like a road, maybe it's a road.
Well, yeah, Mike,
No, it's a
I don't
private
see how we
driveway.
could turn something back that's not ours.
Right.
That's, if you want to turn it back to the township, how do you turn something back that's not ours?
No, it has to come to us first.
Yeah, but how do you,
Why would you want to do that? It's, just because Lamar wants something done, that doesn't mean it necessarily has to be a road and it has to go back from the county into the township.
yeah.
That's private. Just, they have to maintain their own stuff. If they wanna drive it, then they have to maintain it. It's that simple. We've never plowed snow, we've never done nothing on the road.
And the comment I like to add to this is, with the city of St. Cloud being out that far, why wouldn't we look at giving it to the city of St. Cloud, which they're looking at annexing that piece in anyway within 5 years?
That's a better idea. I like that.
Well, you have to annex, the road in front of the driveway would have to be,
Yeah.
or the Rook Road. How to get the name of Rook Road if it's not a road?
Well, many times back when by where I used to live, there was Kane's Crossing. And then there's Beamer Corner over in Stearns County. Things gets named because a person is identification of an area, or this is, you go to go to Brooks Road and take a left or whatever you do. It's just a formal, just historically, just a name given by the community or something that identifies an area. And you go to this point and then you go from there.
But MinDOT had it on their survey as Rook Road.
No, they had it as Buck Road.
Buck Road, you know, they, I
Not-
don't
that's
know
not
when
even
it
close.
became Rook Road, I guess, I don't know when the name changed.
No, it was Rook Road before that, because Jacobs used to live there. I talked to Jared, and he said it was Rook Road when they lived there. And they had to go out to the north side of Highway 23 to pick up their mail. And so it was Rook Road, that's their address, was Rook Road. But it was still just a driveway. And how MinDOT got Buck Road out of it, I don't know. But when I talked to Jared Jacobs, he said, yeah, he remembers going and get his mail on the north side of Highway 23. And that was just, at that point, just still a private driveway. And all of a sudden, when the MAR comes and wants us to improve that private driveway, it now becomes a road. And it's never been a road.
Okay, that's, yeah, I think we've,
I don't burn out.
huh? Yeah, yeah, I think it's still a little, it's a little too fuzzy yet, I think. I know I hate to kick the can on the road, but I'm not sure that legally, really, what we can do
The
there.
county can still improve, or maintain or improve land that's in default. Our county just.
Well, yeah,
turns it.
so the question remains, if land is in default, do you pave a road that's not ours? Because it's not a county
The
road.
default process goes back to the state.
That, yeah, so we got some, probably have some legal questions here that I don't,
Well, this is what I surmise is, regardless if it was a public road or not, we have deed transfers that went tax forfeited. We have an opportunity going forward that I think that's where we're at. We need to make a decision on going forward, what's gonna happen to this. It sounds like, if Michelle's still in line, there may be a process where the county can apply to the state to take that over as county land if we so desire. And there may be, I don't know what that involves. There's probably a process, just like everything else, probably involves publishing, public notice, public hearings. But I think those are things that maybe we need to discuss further. If those are, do we want to go through that process? Unless there's something, Michelle, at this point that the county can expend funds now and worry about the title holder later.
And so the county would be able to utilize tax forfeiture sale funds to do some grading of that road if county auditors made that request to the board or the surrounding property owners did. And so you would be allowed to do that without taking over any ownership or declaring any legal rights or asking the state or the county to receive those lands. So you do have an immediate ability, if thought wise by the county board, to do some grading of that land. And we could certainly brief these issues and discuss, kind of the complexities and the options that you have going further into the future with this particular road.
So I'll just point out, Michelle said using tax forfeited proceeds, or that wasn't the word she used. But I think the board needs to consider, are we willing to spend county dollars to do something to this road and not anticipate getting any refund back if this was not ever able to sell? Or even if we transfer it to another public agency, we wouldn't recoup any of those costs
It's
that we spent.
$3,000 basically, is what it is.
To fix it, it's about $3,000.
no, I don't, do we want to hear anything else? Anyone?
Speak one more time?
Okay, just make it quick though, okay,
Yeah.
please. You gotta-
You know, if the county takes this road over, does improve it to the degree, and wants to change it back to the township, that has to be improved to a 9-ton road, and then maintained for 2 years by the county, and then it can be turned back, but it has to be up to the standards that we accept at a township as well. So you can't just put some bituminous over top of it and say it's good to go. So you have to look at that factor as well. How much are you gonna put into that road to improve it to a 9-ton road? And then we'll maintain it for 2 years and then turn it back to us.
Okay, well, this is a complicated thing, and I'm not sure I followed everything Michelle said. So, did everyone else follow everything she said? I'm not so sure I did.
No, I didn't.
You know, had a problem with it, or Warren did. I don't know.
Well, Mr. Chair, oh,
Draft for the board kind of give you a snapshot of the processes you need to follow and kind of some of those options that you would have with the roadway.
That probably would be helpful.
Mr. Chair, I don't want to kick the can down the road either, but I don't think the issue's dead. Maybe we consider discussing at a cow or something, a committee of the whole.
We could do that, yeah. Yep, I guess, but we should have an idea. I don't know what other same situations exist, you know, and how do you go forward? I don't know. Anyway, I think we could do that. Let's get some clarity, I think, from Michelle. And
Mr. Chair, we need to get some clarity on this and then, you know, decide where we're gonna go with it. I totally agree with the township, you know, we had same thing up in our township, that it has to be 9-ton. You know, we didn't have to maintain it for 2 years, though, we just had, yeah, and, then, you know, if the township wanted to pick it up, cause it does serve 2 other residents, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think there's two. What used to be, I think this was all owned by Jekyll's at one time, but it looks like, yeah, they've built a house here. And
So who's plowing snow and taking care of it now? They are, okay,
They are, huh? Okay.
We don't touch that road.
okay.
Okay, they're using it as a private driveway, seems like, yeah, and,
Maybe we should give it to the 2 residents that are back there and they can get together with Lamar and, and assess them so much to build it up. Let them have it as a private driveway.
yeah, that'd probably be an easier way.
Yeah, that would, you know,
They probably wouldn't take it.
Huh?
They wouldn't take it, I suppose.
yeah.
Well, then,
Well, it wouldn't be any worse than they got now.
Right.
yeah,
Situation would be the same.
no, that, I think, well,
Can I just add one more thing?
okay, just real quickly, Mark, I think we're done here. I don't,
This isn't the only road we're gonna have issues with in Minden Township.
Okay.
We have Minden Township 8, which is between the Kitcher Pit and Mike's Electric, which is, they're looking at vacating, and we got issues there as well, so whatever you guys do on this road could set a precedence for that road
Okay.
as well. And
right.
just to verify,
That
so
was
once
my-
we get this one solved, we're gonna have another
yeah,
one.
that was my
Right.
question before, going forward, you know, I mean, other ones were like this out there, so.
I said, no good deed goes unpunished, so.
Yeah, so, right, that's the old saying in this business, yeah. Okay, unless there's some action want to be taken, I don't know, should we get some more clarity from Michelle and see what happens?
Yeah, let's talk about it in a couple
Yep.
of them.
Yeah, we'll do that, okay,
All right, very good.
all right, so,
That's all I had.
all right. Now, at this point, we're getting behind, we're gonna recess the regular board meeting to conduct a human services board meeting. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Peschel.
Okay, I'll call the Human Services Board to order. Bob, are you on? There he is.
Yes, I am on.
Approve, amend agenda. We got anything, Bob?
No, nothing.
Okay. Motion to approve.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Not all signify by saying aye.
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 Consent agenda, approve the regular minutes of September 1st and approve the 2021 Child and Teen Checkups Administrative Service Budget Work Plan and Contract between Department of Human Service and the Benton County Human Services Board. Anyone who wants these pulled or talked about? Not, need a motion?
Well, I'd move the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? If not, all signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Bob, you got anything for us?
I have nothing on the regular agenda unless you have questions.
Anybody got anything?
No.
Right.
Warren, did you, just a quick, did you, go to any of the, do you have any Health and Human Service, fall policy committee
It's
meetings?
coming, yeah, it's
Huh?
coming. It's coming, was one yesterday and then there's one on Friday, I think.
Okay, anything come, you go to that one, or anything
No.
come, okay. I just wanted,
All
just
right.
wondering if anything came up there.
Alrighty.
We'll adjourn and turn it over to the chair. Thanks, Bob.
Okay, we'll reconvene the regular county board meeting, and Monty Headley is up with the payroll tax executive order.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kathy Trost here. I can talk about the payroll tax executive order if that's okay with you, Monty. Monty?
Perfectly fine, Jackie. Yep, please go ahead.
I wish they'd come in here.
Okay.
It's so hard to understand.
Okay, so, I'm sure many of you have heard about the payroll tax executive order that the President of the United States recently signed. It is an option for employers to allow employees to take a tax deferral, on Social Security tax. However, it is exactly that. It's a deferral. So what would happen is September 1st through December 31st, employers could stop withholding Social Security tax from employees' checks. However, when we get to the first of the year, we would then continue to withhold Social Security in addition to collecting the tax that should have been withheld September through December. So it's only a deferral, it is not forgiveness. I've kind of checked around into this, and we have also been able to find out that this is an optional thing for employers to do. So we do not have to do this. Checking around into other county organizations and our payroll, software provider, nobody's really recommending that we do this. There isn't a lot of guidance on how this kind of flows on down the line as far as how would the payroll tax software handle this, how does it look on a W-2, what happens if an employee terminates before they have repaid the tax that was deferred. So I'm getting a lot of guidance from other organizations telling us probably the best option would be to opt out of this, this executive order allowing us to do this. I've had a couple, probably about a dozen employees contact Amber and myself. All of them have asked us not to defer tax. A lot of them have called us in panic asking, are you going to stop withholding tax? Because please don't stop. I don't want to defer it. So I haven't had any employees wanting to participate in this. So I'm feeling that we probably shouldn't participate in this. And before we made that decision, I just wanted your opinions and maybe a formal motion to opt out of this executive order at this time.
I just have one question.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have one question.
Yep.
If we do go along with this, who's in charge of collecting the deferral after the first of the year?
We're not gonna go along with it.
Well, wait, I won't be here, maybe, hell, I mean,
Waste time.
I'll take the deferral now and then they can come after me later.
We know where you live.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I move we
Yeah, ultimately, the employer
opt
is
out.
responsible. So
Waste
if
Employer, okay, that's all I need to know, yep,
employee, I believe,
okay.
yeah.
Then we're
Mr.
not
Chair, I
gonna do
move we opt out.
it. Okay.
We
have a
ought
motion
not to
opt
do it,
out.
right?
Right.
Commissioner Barley?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
And we have in a second, any further discussion?
Time.
Well, is this, what brought this on? The COVID?
I don't know.
If employer
I
can't
know what
make,
you're saying.
can't make,
Yeah.
if he's going broke, he can't get financing lined up to, right away, maybe this will defer, maybe this will help him out, but that's, the idea behind it. But obviously, the county's not going broke, so you don't have to worry about it.
Well, not only that, but if an employer would quit between September 1 and in November, and we can't, no option to pick up that money, who's gonna pick up that extra Social Security? It's gonna be impossible, so this looks like
Yes.
a
This-
nightmare for our accounting department.
Yeah, this is different from the one we had during the Great Recession under Obama. That was a strict forgiveness. They didn't collect the employees' portion for a full year,
Yeah.
and there was no payback. So there was no money, only half the money was going into Social Security at that time, yeah. This was different. All right, any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion's carried.
Thanks,
Next item,
Jackie.
adopt the
Thank
Property
you.
tax levy.
Alrighty, so we're ready to move on to the budget. So, I'd like to just cover, if I could, this summary that you see up on this screen. And I should mention that this summary reflects the consensus from the board's recent work session on the budget and levy. Some consensus that was reached on department funding requests and so on and so forth. Okay, so the proposed levy represents a 0.5% increase from 2020, just over $100,000. One thing we definitely like to stress is how the levy changes affect the county tax rate. And in your packet, you've got this graph, and I'll just put this up over that. So, as you heard from Mike Harvey, our county assessor, he's expecting about 6.2% growth in our county tax capacity for taxes payable in 2021. With the levy increase of just 0.5%, we should see our county tax rate continue to fall, in this instance from 58.45 to 55.3% of tax capacity. And just wanted to stress, you can see how our tax rate has fallen. It peaked at 77.74% back in 2013, and now down over 20 percentage points by 2021. And going back to the summary, I did just show you that the 10-year average levy change for Benton County is just a 0.15% increase on average over the past 10 years. Just moving on then to this bullet point here with all the different items listed. This is what basically makes up this levy change. It's pretty typical. Compensation and benefits make up the largest part of our levy increase. That would be the general wage adjustment, step increases, and health insurance and so on. $925,000. The levy also had to go up because we're seeing decline in inmate boarding revenue as jail populations are significantly lower. I think I heard recently from the Criminal Justice Committee the jail inmate population's around 30. And before the pandemic, it was 60, 70. So we're really not boarding many inmates from other counties. Populations right now are down. We're not expecting those populations are going to rebound back to full occupancy by next year. We're using all the county program aid to actually help bring that levy down. How we do that is, it used to be, well, up to this point, we were sending $475,000 county program aid to the highway local road fund. And with the implementation of the local option sales tax, those resources are now all going to local roads. And the board wanted to see some property tax relief as a result of that. So this helps us reduce the levy by saying, okay, instead of this money going over to local roads, we're just going to use it to generally reduce our levy. That's at $475,000. During the budget committee of the whole, the board decided that we needed to defer the purchase of a new motor grader and highway, and you can see just how expensive those pieces of equipment are at $380,000. The board also decided to use some modest level of reserve usage, $360,000, to bring the levy down as well. So again, the total levy increase just over $100,000. Just to stress, there are no new positions in this budget, pretty much status quo. No positions are added as part of this budget, and really no other significant new spending initiatives that I can recall from that board discussion. I think that's really it. Really not a lot of highlights in this budget, this proposed budget and levy. The rest of the board packet, I did not intend to cover in detail. It's just simply various spreadsheets and explanations of what goes into the county budget. Again, did not intend to cover those in detail. One thing I might want to just throw up on the screen would be the funding for outside agencies. And generally, overall, there's really not much of an increase. Or there's no increase in funding there. I might have to actually reduce this a little bit down so we can see a little bit better. Not many changes in funding to outside agencies. The library went down by virtue of the funding formula for the library. And I know the board decided to reduce the GSDC funding by $2,500. And that $2,500 then was redirected to the Central Minnesota Child Advocacy Center. It's a new agency you heard from during budget presentations back in August. So that gets them started with some funding that was redirected from up above. And just a note there, the Highway 23 Coalition, that shows 0. We remain a member, but the coalition is using its reserves to essentially cover its costs for 2021, but we do remain a member. So, couple of things, Mr. Chair, before I ask you to adopt the budget, I want to just mention two things. Just to make sure that we operate on the basis of full disclosure. Let's see. Back when you were considering the reduction options, I'll throw this up. With the one with the Department of Development, which is number 19 on this list, if you may recall correctly, that number, was showing up under, again, line item 9 or 19. I believe it's about 9,000. And then when I shared, this draft with Roxanne, she and I had some conversations about, that number and what it should be. Make a long story short, instead of 9,000 savings, it's about 15,000 in savings. Really, these three items build upon each other. So I should have shown, when we talked about during the budget, each of the savings, the 1%, the 2.5, because again, they build upon each other. The 5% includes the 2.5%, and so on and so forth. So instead of it being 9,000 savings, it's 15,000 savings. So just want to make sure that was out there. One last thing, I don't have anything to show you. It's really more just a sharing with you some things we're hearing about health insurance. Is the base budget and levy assumed about a 3.3% increase in premiums. I've learned over the last couple of days from our broker, Marsh McLennan, that it might need to be more than that. But I think we have some options. What they're hearing is it's not just us, but I believe 4 of the 7 counties that are members of the collaborative have experienced substantial reliance upon their reinsurance coverage. So the reinsurance carrier is preferred one. They administer our plan, but they're also the reinsurance carrier. So preferred one is telling them that they need some pretty substantial increases in the reinsurance premium portion. So ordinarily by this time, we've given you a final renewal number. Well, our broker, Marsh McLennan, is negotiating with preferred one to try and get this reinsurance premium increase down, not just for us, but also other members of the collaborative. What they're telling us, again, this is Marsh McLennan, if they're not able to successfully negotiate these increases down, they want to take this to market. In other words, they want to put an RFP and see if other reinsurance carriers want to bid on this coverage. And this would be not just for us, but it would be all the other members of the collaborative. So again, usually by this time of the year, we have a number for you. We have a final number, but this is getting drug out by these discussions about reinsurance. So what does it mean for us? Well, I'm not going to ask you today to add more funding to health insurance. I think we have some options. It may include digging into the reserves in our reinsurance fund. That's what they're there for. There's about 1.2 million in reserves sitting there today. We may need to dig into those. Maybe we need to look at some other reserve options. One option tossed out by Marsh McLennan was actually increasing the threshold when reinsurance kicks in. Right now, whenever a claim goes above 60,000, the reinsurance coverage kicks in. They thought, well, maybe we should look at increasing that. In other words, we'd pay more in claims before the reinsurance threshold kicked in. That might be another option. So I just want to make sure you're aware of this, that it could be worse than what we're seeing in the base budget, and it may require digging a bit more into reserves to solve that problem. So I guess just stay tuned, and I think at some point, if we need to explore some options, we may need to have a discussion with you all, with Marsh McLennan, to explore some options. So,
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
In an email, you said you're going to fulfill the assistant human resources person. Is that money in the budget?
it is, right, that is in the base. This would be the deputy director position in human services, yep, it is. It is.
Mr. Chair, I just had one comment that, we're using $475,000 of levy that come from the sales tax that we implemented. We should kind of remember that approximately 30% of that comes from outside Benton County residents as we do that. So it's not all on the taxpayers. We're not using that levy money. Because when we did that study.
Like 38% or something.
Yeah, when we did that study, they said roughly that amount of sales tax.
The
came
local
from
option
out-
sales tax.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, that is all I had for you.
All right. Well, any discussion amongst the members? We had quite a few meetings on this already, and
So you've got two actions requested. First would be adoption of the levy, and then the second would be adoption of the proposed budget.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the resolution setting the proposed 21 levy at $20,219,966.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the 2021 levy. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Preliminary levy, yeah.
Right?
Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. And we also need a motion to approve, the county budget as presented. Do we have a
I'll move for that approval of the county budget, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I'll second it.
And we have a motion and a second to approve the county budget as presented. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
I just had, Mr. Chair, one last thought on the budget, I'm sorry, health insurance. So Marsh McLennan is telling us that if they need to go to market, they'll probably won't have a number for us until October.
Okay.
So we need to bring to you all, with Marsh McLennan, a premium recommendation no later than the last meeting in October. So that's kind of the time frame, because Johanna and Vicky, they need premium numbers for open enrollment purposes, which happens in November. So that's the time frame. Last, Mr. Chair, is we would just ask you to please make this announcement that's on your next agenda item.
Okay.
If you could please announce the date, time, place of the TNT hearing.
Okay. Okay, the Benton County Board of Commissioners will conduct the Truth in Taxation public meeting on Tuesday, December 1st, 2020, at 7 p.m. in the Benton County Boardroom. I think that satisfies the notice for Truth in Taxation. Okay, Commissioner meeting updates.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we met last Thursday, planning commission, the one here was at Gordian. Janet Hensmeyer, that's on 95th Avenue, you know where that is, right? That one we just approved today, that was on past Mel Hulk there. Right to the corner of 95 there, back in there. And the other one was Ray Thompson. We've had a lot of plots, approval of a two-lot preliminary plot for Thompson Village, and that was in Watep Township. Then we had John and Caitlin Lynn requesting a conditional use permit for flood boosting elevation in the floodplain. We had a little confrontation with that because the lady next to didn't want his water, so she's getting flooded out now, and now they're putting a house in there. She figures she's gonna get flooded out some more, so the contractor are either gonna put some tile in, or he's gonna run a ditch along her line so it keeps the water away from her place. And the other one is Stacy Shrout, Liberty, conditional use for this storage on a lot without a single family dwelling. They plan on, it's at Ferry Point in Watep Township. They plan on building a house there later. The other thing that was, we didn't really talk about it, but I guess Roxanne missed it, is people want to bury their kin on their own property.
Very what?
They wanted, she had 2 or 3 requests of people, somebody dies, they want to be buried on their own property.
Okay.
And so, we gotta start discussing that with the next planning commission, how we're gonna deal with that. We had Walt Sedansky, and then we had, here about a couple months ago, up in Granite Ledge Township, we had 2 of them. So we're trying to deal with that. And then Ed and I had a extension meeting last night. Just a couple of things. They didn't extend their budget because they had nothing to spend it on, because with all the virtual meetings they have. So their budget next year and this year is gonna stay the same. And plus, all the people at extension, they have to take furloughs. University of Minnesota made them take furloughs, so they don't get their wages are froze.
Yeah.
So, besides the other reports, I don't know what else was stood out, Ed.
I guess One thing I was quite impressed at is how our
Dan-
4-H,
Nate-
you
oh,
know,
yes.
the 4-H person down there, man, she has really found a way to keep things rolling without having any meetings. I mean, the number of people or number of youth involved and the number of things she done, I was quite impressed. I thought that part went good, and I think our crops guy is really
Nathan,
coming into his own.
He's turned into a scientist.
Yeah, he did. He just like, man, you can't believe some of the stuff that he's doing out there. So that was all pretty good, I thought.
But that was a virtual meeting too, so I guess, the next one is gonna be that way too, I guess.
The way it sounds, yeah.
Yeah. Getting tired of those.
Well, yeah, well, what's her name? She had heart surgery, so I suppose.
Well, it's not her as much as the University of Minnesota does not let you meet in person.
Yeah.
It just, there's nothing, they can't work around.
They gotta follow they follow university protocol.
Protocol, yeah.
That's all, Mr. Chair.
Okay, anybody else?
I'll
Yes.
just, as long as I started on that, I'll finish up that. On the 3rd of September, we did our interviews for the livestock person, and it was all done online. We were supposed to have 4, one backed out about a week before, and another one backed out the day before, so we ended up with 2 really qualified candidates, and we settled on one, and there's an offer sheet out to that particular person to see if she'll accept it, but it was from 8:30 till 1:30 it took us on Zoom. And we had a little bit of problems with one of the commissioners. They wanted it to be live, and that particular person did not show up for the virtual meetings that day, so.
And there's not a lot of wiggle room with salaries, it's pretty well set.
Yeah, this one has got a master's, and I don't know if she's.
You can't negotiate wages very
Yeah,
much.
there's not much negotiation. The second offer will be a lateral movement, coming from, McLeod County to our tri-county deal, and wants emphasis on livestock, so that part was pretty good. I think other than that, I the library has got a CMLE board, and Central Minnesota Library Exchange Board.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, lucky me, I got appointed to that board to represent the Great River Regional
Thank you.
Library. So we had our first meeting, and I have yet to, it was Zoom, naturally. I have yet to draw a conclusion on it. The only thing I found out is that they deal a lot with schools. They deal more with schools than they do with the libraries within ours. We'll see more on that. I think they only meet 6 times a year or something, so. And the rest was all, our AMC stuff.
Okay. Just a couple of takeaways from the AMC Transportation and Infrastructure meeting yesterday was, one thing is the highway, the reason they can't pass a bonding issue right now is because the state of Minnesota issued $1.2 billion worth of bonds that were previously approved.
Yeah.
And so there's a blackout period from May 20th to September 20th. They can't do anything during that period, disclose any financial information or anything during this blackout period. So, there might be a bonding issue attempt after, if it meet again in October. But that's why I didn't understand quite the reason why they couldn't do a bond, but that's why, it's a blackout period.
Do they gotta have a special session every month now?
For every time you executive order, you have to
Yeah.
have a special session,
So every month they gotta,
until they quit doing executive order.
They can't bring that up and then talk about it and get it ready for the bonding issue?
No, because in this blackout period, you can't talk about changes on employment, you can't, because your bond rating is set. Their bond rating was AAA, and they got 20-year bonds for 1.3%.
I was under.
But during this blackout period, you can't talk about anything.
I was under the impression that ended and that this special session could take it
Nope.
up. Oh,
Nope.
okay.
September
I didn't know
20th, you
that.
can't even
I'll
talk
be
about it
darned.
until September
Okay.
20th.
All right.
Because they're just issuing the bonds from last biennium.
Yeah.
They had bonds approved,
Yep.
but never issued.
Yep.
So do you think it'll become, does the transportation seem like it'll become an issue in the October when they meet? Or is that too close to an election where they're not gonna talk about it?
Yeah, I guess they didn't speculate about that, maybe Chris is on on that lobbying committee, but, you know, they didn't speculate, but that's why this blackout period, they can't even talk about it, but, you know, what happens in October, I guess, who knows?
Yeah.
But, it's all speculation. But the other thing we talked about extensively was broadband, and they've got this, virtual site you go on and you do broadband test. And so you can get a test for your house, and 25 upload and 5 download are kind of the standard. And a lot of Benton County, I was checking on it, a lot of Benton County doesn't meet that, so we need to keep pushing that. It sounds like both parties are in favor of some, you know, broadband spending if they can ever get their shit together, but, and the other thing I guess I'd like to talk about a little bit about BEP. Now, I heard they got like $500,000 worth of applications for CARES money now? That's a pretty big number. Yeah.
What'd we put, how much we put in there? 750?
35, yeah.
735, yeah.
Does,
Okay,
Monty, does that include the nonprofits, or is that just?
no, that's just business, yeah.
Okay.
And is there an application deadline to that? September 30th, okay.
And I guess you've all heard that we hired a new executive director there, so.
We did, huh?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good, yep.
So we're excited about that. But,
Is that Pete's
yeah,
daughter?
yeah. She's very talented. That's all I have.
Okay, I had general government policy committee meetings, and so much of it was the election, but we went over that with Heather, yeah, so I don't think I have to go down that road again, but, there was a presentation on CARES Act funding and how some of the counties are doing, and Stevens County and, Sherburne County gave the presentation. So, I wrote some highlights down. Stevens County, they're actually giving like 80% of theirs to business. And the city of Morris gave all their money to the county and said, you put it in your pot with it. They didn't save any, yeah. And, so,
Interesting.
yeah, they're gonna make sure they spend it all, yeah. And, they actually have commissioners sitting on a committee deciding if the applications are okay and meet the criteria, and deciding who gets it and who doesn't. I don't know. And, and then Sherburne County, that was Bruce Messelt and, Tim Dolan were on together. And they gave some money for nonprofits. They had 18 applications. And, yeah, and, they're also, I think, the full board approves all applications. They're full board. So that was kind of different. We're seeing all over the place. I think us sending it out to the business community shows our confidence in them to do their job, and I think that's fine.
I think, Spence, when BEP gets done with it, they're gonna send it to the full board here.
Yeah, right, yeah, but somebody else is doing here they actually had commissioners doing all of it,
Oh, boy.
and, yeah, sitting on a board and, yeah. But, and they did do some broadband because they had a shovel-ready project that could go and get it done. Sherburne did. They just happened to be lucky and had one, they said. But if anyone's got any questions on that, you can get them from, Bruce Bruce Messelt, and coordinated on Stevens County too. They gave a pretty good presentation. It's all a little different how you do it. I don't think there's any one size fits all. And then at Career Solutions, we had a meeting, and actually I went to it in person because they let so many people in that big room now. So Lensmeyer and I were in there, and that was it. And the rest of them were on virtually. And not much went on, except we have to have a change to our lease because we can't utilize some of the space because we can't use it and meet the protocol on COVID from the different agencies. It's just a mess. And we passed something to increase the lease space because they were meeting them outside, but now they won't be able to meet them outside anymore, so they gotta come inside. And I'm not sure the chairman is gonna sign the lease. We had a big discussion on that. We get hung up on all this stuff, and it's not helping the person that needs a job, so that was always my point on that. And Monty, can you help me on, criminal justice meeting? You mentioned before what the inmate population was. I couldn't hear that real good when I was listening to
It
it.
was between 30 and 40. I don't
Okay.
recall the precise number, but that's kind of what we've seen since the pandemic started, was around in that 30 to 40 number, and most of them are virtually all Benton County inmates. Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and then they said something about, they actually have 2 people on a crew now for sentence to serve that are going out.
Yeah, it sounds like a couple, 2 or 3. Yeah, for a very long time there has been no crew.
Yeah,
Right.
and-
Yeah. Since actually, yeah, for many months there hasn't been a crew.
Okay, and they said they have several jobs out there for them, yeah. to
Usually
do,
this
you
time
know.
of year, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause some of these things it was hard to hear today when Michelle was on there,
Yeah.
I think it's better if they could come in person, some of our own staff, if they felt
Okay.
comfortable doing it,
Okay.
We could hear them better,
I
right?
will make that request of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, I think that was about it. We got meetings coming up for general government. That'll be the policy part of it, yeah. Okay, any commissioner concerns?
I guess just one other thing that, just thinking about a report I heard yesterday, that MnDOT saved 45 million by refinancing their bonds, the old bonds.
Yeah,
They had a like $75 million shortfall. By refinancing their bonds, they saved 45 million, so then they only had $30 million shortfall. But I guess, have we dropped the idea about refinancing our bonds, or wasn't enough savings to make it worthwhile, or what's happening there? But
I think that's certainly up to you all. If you believe that it's worthwhile, we can certainly pursue it with Northland Securities.
We're still
trying
at
to
a
remember now that
30,000 saving or something, even
the
that.
interest was about 125, 30,000.
Yeah.
Issuance costs about 70, something like that. Yeah. So I guess that would be the.
There's still 55,000 savings then, so why wouldn't we do that, I guess, but.
Well, again, totally your decision. If you'd like me to
yeah,
pursue
it
that
doesn't
with
hurt
Jessica.
to look into those, It doesn't hurt to look into those, especially at these historic low rates, yeah.
Right.
I didn't know if we could call some of those bonds yet. I thought there was a provision that they weren't callable yet.
They checked that out, they already checked that out.
Jessica said that these have not reached their call date. It's what's called an advance refunding. And she said there was one little wrinkle to it that apparently under IRS rules, advance refundings, if you buy those bonds, the interest you earn would not be free from federal taxation. So that would cause them to have a bit higher interest rate than you might ordinarily see from municipal debt. But the
savings are the savings. I mean, it's already been factored in.
Right.
It's already factored in.
They factored it into
So,
their
all right.
estimation, right, yeah.
But the other thing they said was Minnesota's AAA credit rating. I wonder if we're in Benton County now, their debt's so low, if we wouldn't be we're double A now, I believe.
Yeah, I would say that's probably unlikely. It just, I think we have strong reserves and good financial performance, but I don't believe probably we have the tax base to push us into that realm.
They're telling the story about Michigan. Minnesota got 1.3. Michigan, because of their high debt and their problems, they're paying 2.6, double.
Whoa.
So it depends upon your rating big time. And these historical low rates, we ought to, 35,000, I guess, is not, why wouldn't we do it?
No, yeah, as long as you can save some money, yeah.
I'm hearing, it sounds like a consensus, so I will get that discussion going with Jessica from Northland Securities to get the ball rolling on that.
Okay,
You bet.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, there was also a presentation on economic development. I forgot to bring that up at our meeting yesterday. And Cameron Mock had a good presentation on labor market info. And our rates in Minnesota are actually quite a bit less than
Right.
so we aren't hit as hard by this thing. And that's a lot. I think when you get in the western part of the state, they aren't hit at all in the ag community.
St. Cloud, if you read that report from the
Yeah.
King Banyans thing, central Minnesota is way better than the state as a whole.
Right,
Central
yep.
Minnesota's only got like a 6.6% unemployment rate.
Yep, yep, hiring that,
Versus 8.7 for the,
Yep.
for the state.
but they did make the statement that some of these jobs are never coming back,
Yeah.
you know, and we've heard that before. but-
Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention, they talked about working from home. How's it gonna change transportation patterns, commuting and that we all got this light rail thing, you know, how's it
Well, I
gonna,
thought of it,
how's it
yeah.
gonna affect that? You know, people working from home, is that, what's gonna happen to their ridership too, so.
Yeah,
This COVID's gonna, I think we gotta, some of the stuff, we's gotta wait to see how this COVID thing
I
plays
think-
out.
Yeah, I thought of that when I read
Yeah.
that, North Star study was
Right.
progressing where they had the money, yeah. Okay, we have some, any more commissioner concerns? Okay, set the committee of the whole, do we have some to set or not?
Well, Mr. Chair, Bob and I thought it might be good to go ahead and resume those quarterly human services committees of the whole. So Bob is here to suggest some possible dates, times. You kind of may remember, you had those up in human services, third floor. I think everyone appreciated those, so we thought it'd be good to get those back on the calendar.
Thank you. This is it.
We had those scheduled for the first Monday quarterly. So I don't know if that's something you want to continue, and it just depends on when you want to start that back up, whether it's October, November, December. So I'm fine with that, and we thought for the COVID situation now that we probably could still have them in the boardroom until things straighten out, but then after that, we would want to revert back to human services building, so.
Yeah, I agree. My thinking is that for foreseeable future, we would have committees of the whole here. And certainly you all can use the dais and, you know, if we're out at a table, then we have to all have masks on and that changes things a bit, so. Anyway.
I guess I'm fine with it if, you know, what your employees think.
Yeah, and I think that the management team feels that that would be fine. That's who basically was attending these. So I think that we're fine with coming here. And we typically meet every Monday morning from 10:30 to noon. So I think that we were doing it 10 o'clock to whatever. And there was a couple of them where we might have even went 9 o'clock. So it's up to you. If you want to go, you know, 10 to noon, that's fine with us. If you want to go a little earlier.
I don't care. I have no, you know,
I don't have any problems with it.
no, I don't have any strong feelings about when or
October, November?
Yep, October's fine.
early.
Okay, I think that was October 5th if I,
Yep, that's on a Monday, yep.
okay. So if you want to start that back up, I think we're going to talk about where human services is right now, and then we're also going to probably talk about a topic of where homeless is in our community, because I think that that's something that we're getting pinged on multiple fronts as far as homeless and so forth. So we wanted to talk about what we can do as a county to augment what is going on.
So you want that at 10
October 5th
o'clock
at
on Monday?
Pardon?
10 o'clock, you said, Bob?
Yes, yes,
At 10, okay.
On the 5th?
yes. And then that would be quarterly after that, so January,
Okay.
et cetera.
Okay. You don't have to write that one down, Maureen.
Huh?
You don't have to write the January one down.
Unless you want to. You can be our honorary guest.
Okay.
That gets us started. Okay, do we want to say committee of the whole, talk about Rook Road?
Do we have anything else or just that, or is that?
Well, what I was thinking, Mr. Chair, is, so BEP's deadline is September 30th. And what I was thinking is, once they then find out what kind of applications they've received, that's probably a good time then to talk more about CARES funding. Do you need to send them more? Do you want to send some money to nonprofits? And so on and so forth. So I think sometime that first, second week of October, we should know then from BEP what they're looking at in terms of applications. So, and by the way, I was going to invite Amanda to your October 6th meeting. If she can't be here, we'll definitely have an update for you on the BEP grant applications by October 6th. So, but I thought it'd be nice to meet Amanda in person.
That's right around doesn't she start October 5th, I believe?
I think you're right, yeah. I think she's starting the 5th.
So she would probably be
Yeah,
available at that
yeah.
time.
So sometime
maybe-
that week,
maybe the
of
co-
October fifth?
Maybe the seventh?
Seventh.
Seventh, okay. 9?
Yep. All right. So that would be Rook Road.
And hopefully too, by the seventh, we'll have some estimates for you on the potential courtroom renovations. You maybe saw my message about that. Conlon has already been over, and another engineering firm is gonna be out here this week. So hopefully by the seventh, we should have some estimates for you what it would take to renovate courtroom number 1.
Yeah, I got a question on that. If a judge orders a renovation, does it have to go through us even, or do they have?
That's a darn good question. You know, I think that the county board is the landlord, and I think it's the county board makes a decision about the physical infrastructure. Of course, we greatly value the opinion of the judge and court administration, but I think it is really the county board who is the landlord over that facility.
How about the payment of it? That's my point.
I'm sorry?
How about the payment of it? You know, could it come from?
You know, generally speaking,
care funding.
I think county boards are responsible for maintaining a courthouse. So
Okay.
it would be the county's responsibility.
Care
Okay,
funding.
we got some, yeah, we have some care money left over by then, yeah.
And that was my thing, and I think this would be very
Yeah.
appropriate for CARES funding, if, again, of course, if you decide to do it, so.
Yeah, right, yeah, well, I'm gonna, you
Yeah.
know, my first priority would be to.
It's
give it
driven
out
by
to
the
business,
pandemic, right,
You know,
yeah, so.
that's still first for me.
We're putting that same day then, the seventh, and we're gonna have a Chris then too then?
Yes, sir,
All
yeah.
right.
So we talk about Rook Road and then CARES funding, yeah.
Is that soon enough? Do we have
Yeah,
estimates on the courtrooms remodeling before that? Because we have to have this all completed by,
I
November.
believe we should have estimates on courtroom renovations by the seventh, yes.
okay.
with
Yeah.
this payment.
Because again, Conlon has already been out here, there's another engineering firm coming this week.
Okay.
So we should have estimates by the seventh, yeah.
Alright. Okay, anything else?
No, sir.
If not, we need a motion to set the cows.
Motion to set the call, Mr. Chair.
Second it, Mr. Chair.
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried. Is there nothing else come before the board? A motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned.
Okay.
Chris, did we get our driveway in?